All right, driver versus an iron. Well, there's a lot of similarities I'm going to go over in this video, but there's one very specific thing that you need to get right. It's very different. If you get that right, super easy to hit these. Now, with a driver, what am I trying to do? Well, I'm trying to get the ball to launch high up in the air with the least amount of spin as possible. So I'm going to play this ball on my front foot. Anywhere in this general vicinity is fine. Every player can have it a little bit different based on your swing, but somewhere in this front foot is where you want it. Now what that means is as I make my normal golf swing, I'm going to reach my low point kind of in the middle of the stance, about where this ball is that my 6-iron would be, and then I'm going to start to swing up into the ball that I'm hitting with my driver. Now that allows it to launch higher and spin less. If I was to play the driver in the middle of my stance, it would be coming, I would either be hitting slightly down on the golf ball or level with the golf ball, which is not what you'd want. It'd get that ball that launches lower and starts to spin up. Now with my 6-iron, you can imagine I could take this same setup, and the only difference is I'm going to have a little bit narrower of a stance. So I'm going to bring both feet in together. Now my 6-iron, kind of the back of the ball is in the middle of my stance. Again, depending on your swing, it can be a little bit farther forward or farther back, and it'd be fine. But I really don't want to put the 6-iron way back here in the back of my stance and chop down on it. I could do some bad things like start to cast to compensate for that. I don't want it up here because it gets very difficult to compress the golf ball. Now, if you're looking at this again, I'm going to go ahead and take a stance that's kind of somewhere in the middle of that. With a driver, I like to go ahead and have the inside of my feet on my shoulders, or almost the outside of my shoulders. I like it nice and wide. When you look at the most powerful hitters, this is what they're doing. So if I was to draw a vertical line from the inside of my heel, you would see that basically would come to the outside of my shoulder if I'm standing straight up and down. I could do that with both feet. For my irons, I like to be a little bit narrower. I don't mind having a slightly wide stance even with my irons. So if I took that same line from the inside of my heel, I drew it straight up, now it's hitting more in the middle of my shoulders or just slightly outside the middle of my shoulders, right around in here would be great. Now you'll see that if I put my hands in the same spot, because of these ball differences, the placement in the ball is different. If I put my hand in the same spot and grab the club, with this iron I have tons of what's called shaft lean and leaning in front. Now the pros, what they're doing is they're taking the normal amount of loft where the club would be straight up and down, and they're taking about 30% of that off with an iron. So you can see now that's basically what's happening. My hands are in the same spot, but the club's shaft angle is very different based on my ball position. Now those things, really you're making the same swing. You're going to have lag in the downswing. You're going to have a weight shift to the left. You're going to release the club out in front with both of those swings. Very, very similar golf swings. There is one small difference when you're hitting a driver versus an iron. Now with a driver, I want to have what I call my compression line angled away from the target. So when I come down to impact here, when I studied 50 major winners on the PGA Tour, I looked at all the slow motion video and I measured these things. What I found is that their left ankle to their left shoulder, the left shoulder was behind the ankle. So the hip and the shoulder were both behind this ankle. If you imagine again a vertical line like this, my shoulder is behind it to help me launch the ball higher and hit it nice and high and powerful. So let me go ahead and try that out here. And a good key for this is when you hit your driver, feel like your nose is staying behind the golf ball and your belt buckle is staying behind the golf ball and you're swinging from the inside. So I'm coming down in the slot and I'm releasing from the inside when that happens. That's going to help it to launch at a pretty good angle here. Anything over 10 degrees of launch is fantastic when you're hitting a driver. So let's go ahead and give one a whirl here. There we go. We'll see if that one, I may have the driver settings a little bit too low actually. 294, only the second swing of the day. That one launched around 8 degrees. So I'm either going to turn the loft up on my driver or play it a little bit farther up and stay a little bit farther behind it. So if I was doing that, I'd make a few swings to get loosened up, see if I just happen to be hitting a little bit low today, or if I could make some tweaks in my setup there. Now with an iron, you're going to be doing the opposite. Instead of staying behind this golf ball to help get a more positive angle of attack, now I'm going to be stacked. So as I make my swing, let's go ahead and get this to where it'll read it on my launch monitor here. So as I go ahead and make this swing now, instead of my left shoulder being behind my left heel, it's going to be over top of my left heel. From there, that allows me to hit down on the golf ball easier, and that allows me to take a divot in front of this golf ball. So now when you watch this swing, you're going to see it looks very different. So even though the mechanics of the swing were very similar, good shot there, 197 yards with a 6-iron, not too bad. The mechanics were the same, meaning that I felt like I had lag. I felt like I shifted my weight to the left. I felt like I released this club in front of the golf ball. Because my weight shifted a little bit more, my left shoulder was over my ankle, it made it to where I could hit down into it a little bit more, which is exactly what I want to do with an iron. So for the swing keys here, I'm going to feel like I get my nose just on the back side of the golf ball, but my belt buckle is going to feel like it's in front of the golf ball now. With the driver, it felt like it was behind it. So I'm letting my weight shift over my left side. Belt buckle is in front of the golf ball here, and nose behind the golf ball. That's going to allow me to be really consistent with these irons. There you go, nice straight one there. That allowed me to hit the ground after the golf ball every single time. Now, what I mentioned there is that I had to shallow it out with both of these. So the swing technique is nearly identical. It's just a little more or less weight shift. The problem I see with a lot of players is they get this club steeper, and now from here, I can't hit that driver on the upswing because everything's going to want to chop down into the ground. No matter how far I stay behind it, I'm still going to be coming over the top and chopping down into it. Now, there's one move that I see virtually every single player make that makes this nearly impossible. Now, I'm going to share that with you in a preview video here in a second. I call it the anti-roll method. I'll play a preview of what that move is, why it's causing you to get steep, and it makes it nearly impossible to get in these positions, whether we're trying to hit a driver or an iron. If I'm coming down here versus here, I'm not going to be able to be consistent no matter what else I do with my swing. So that preview will play here in just 1 second. Go ahead and click the card that pops up on your screen. If you don't see that card, don't worry. Just go down to the description below, click the link there, and you'll get instant access to this. I'll go over the one move that makes it nearly impossible to shallow out your club and get from the inside, and it'll be a big game changer for you. I'll see you there. So here's the bottom line. If you've been taught to roll the club in the early downswing, that causes the shaft to get steep, and that steep club causes all your problems. It causes you to hit it way behind the big hitters and way inconsistent with your quality of strikes. So you're in the tall grass and the trees and the hazards all day long. Now the great news is this. There's really only two pieces that you need to know to fix all these problems. The first one is we need to learn the proper way to square up the club face. Instead of rolling the forearms and getting steep, there's another way that the pros do this. Once you learn this right way to square up the club face, then you can shallow out from the inside and everything starts to fit together. Now I'm going to teach you this right now in what I call the anti-roll method. You may also hear this called the motorcycle move or the tour twist, but let's walk through exactly how to do that. Now what I want you to do is go ahead and go kind of in the last parallel in the downswing. So here, I want my hips to go ahead and be opening up. I want my club to be parallel with the ground, and I want my hands to be in front of my right thigh. Now, when I take my grip, you're going to notice that when I do this, the club face is basically straight up and down. So if I'm looking at it from this angle, you'll see the face is straight up and down, and my logo of my glove is pointed out in front of me. Now from there,